Yeah. Oh,
There
there it
we go.
goes. There you
Good.
go. Mhm.
Excellent. Okay. All right, everyone. Welcome, welcome. We are going to go ahead and get started. I am Melissa Skiffin. I am a disability advocate here at Achieva. And back in August, Achieva started hosting monthly evening presentations on various topics. And this evening, we have Michelle Stockunas from Achieva presenting on housing options, including the Home of My Own program and also housing tenancy. So welcome, Michelle. Thank you for being here. We really appreciate it. If you haven't done so already, if you could put your name and email address in the chat, we like to make sure that all of our presentations are focused on people, our target audiences, which are people with disabilities, family members of people with disabilities, providers, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I am the parent of a child with a disability. My son is 11, soon to be 12. So I am not quite ready for housing options yet, Michelle, but I know who to come see in probably a little over a decade when I'm going, I don't know what to do. I need your help. So I will go ahead and turn it over to you if you want to introduce yourself, and I'll get your PowerPoint pulled up.
Sure, sure. Hi, everybody. Thank you for being here tonight. I'm really happy to be here myself. Michelle Stockunas, with Achieva now for 17 years, almost in May. Just telling you a little bit about myself. I have 27 years total, 10 years in another organization. I have 17 years in here at Achieva, and all of it has been in the disabilities field from direct support professional up. The very position that we hire for a lot in my particular department of home and community supports at Achieva is the position that I first started in and built upon. So I've seen a lot of things. I've seen the field grow. I've seen options grow. I like to think of it. I don't know who all has been to Disney World, but the carousel of progress, that sounds weird. But the reason I say that is because it's ever evolving. A lot of the things when I was a kid or younger that I saw that were going to be the future in terms of technology and how we can, and talk about that later, related to supports, just the change in a home of my own since we started that, almost, if you can believe it, 10 years ago. We've seen things evolve that we can provide to people with disabilities and their families that make that, dream of independent living and supports outside of the family home happen. So it's really excites me to look at just the continuum of supports and services that we've provided through Achieva and just in my career. Thank you for, having me tonight. Thank you to Melissa and everyone in advocacy. And I'm excited just to share, an overview of some of the things that we do and some of the options that we can look at if you're looking for housing for the future. So can take it away from there and go on to our next slide. So what's a home of my own all about? A home of my own is, offering an alternative place for people to live and become independent and in a very person-centered way. In the past, the belief was, you move out of your home and the options were going to a community home or what was referred to as a group home. And then with that, the challenges of being eligible for the larger waivers and the funding and moving up on the waiting list and feeling like that's impossible because there is such a wait for supports and services, for housing. So a home of my own, for those that don't know, when we started that particular program through Achieva, it was created basically from families, people with loved ones with disabilities saying, hey, we don't want to wait. We don't want to go to a community home. We want to, start planning now for what the future is going to look like for my son, my daughter, my loved one, and we don't want to wait on a waiting list. So I jumped on that at Achieva and really recognized, that need and became the manager of the Home of My Own project, a part of my journey with Achieva. So I really could see how people didn't always want to live in a certain part of town that didn't make sense for them, or they did not want to live with other housemates. Maybe they weren't compatible with other people that they would have to live with, or maybe they had, very specific support needs that we want to look at in a person-centered way, and how can we support that versus a group setting. So that's kind of how we, kicked off A Home of My Own. And it offers, just that, a choice of the geographical location, the type of house that you want to live in. It could be an apartment, a townhouse. You can live with someone, live alone. Very individualized. In addition to that, what support are you going to need? So we look at direct support professionals, hiring someone to come in and provide support at the times that they need it the most. And we also include, looking at, what skills might need to be developed prior to moving. Looking at what people are good at, and then we can do all of that through an assessment process, which is an observational assessment, which is unique. Not many out there outside of the SIS assessment, to where we can really, go in and do some hands-on community work, daily living tasks, just to, determine what support might be necessary. And Achieva has adopted also the life course framework, to where we have several ambassadors. They're called throughout Achieva. Melissa is one of them. To where we can sit and do really personalized, person-centered planning through the use of those tools. We've incorporated that also into our process when we look at future planning. So we're excited, to offer that. And just everything is very, meaningful and based on what the person needs. Not looking at, hey, there's an opening over here, take it or leave it type of thing. Maybe way far away from where you live, or, you can't continue to do some of the activities that you want to do, or go to your local, house of worship, because that in the past, that was the way, that you moved out. Not anymore. We've been very successful. We have 124 people in our own supports. We successfully help people, live that life of personal significance outside of their family home. Myself, I've helped a lot of families, some in dire emergencies, some that were planning that ended up an emergency. And what I like, what most about my job and about Home of My Own, is really getting to know not only the person that we're going to support, but, working with their family and becoming a part of a team, to include, family in every step of the way. And, just at the end of the day, knowing that we made a difference and people feel safe and secure, in their new home, and for the future, for, times where they might not be here, anymore, to provide that support. You can go on to the next one if you would mind. So in A Home of My Own, we have several different support areas. So, and this is where we talk about sort of the services. I don't really like to get into the waiver too much and into service codes, but these are all the different options that I have up on the screen now of different services while you're living on your own, that staff can come in and provide to ensure success, safety, comfort in your home. Everybody's feeling good and comfortable about the move. Some can start ahead of time, in the family home, to sort of work on that up towards that goal of, independent living, or, after the fact, bring in the staff, whichever is desired by the person. So we have, HAB supports, we can do companion supports, and most recently, community participation supports have been added in to Home and Community. I'm really excited about that. For those of you that don't know what that is, that's where, you can really look at getting out into the community, exploring, learning about things in your new home, new community, job opportunities, volunteering, We look at what people want, what they're good at, and what they really want to do in terms of just, you know, being a part of their community. And I think we can all, appreciate that. I know, myself, I think about it, where I live and how I've embraced and become a part of my community and things that I get into here where I live and the friends that I've made. And that's what we want, to provide for everyone. And that guidance and support is there, through those transitions that I spoke about. And then we also have housing specialists, which I'll talk more about later. But our housing specialists are there to help navigate through that process. Includes like rental applications, signing up for other community resources, assistance with like LIHEAP, energy assistance, anything that someone's eligible for. A housing specialist can wear many hats, talking with landlords and things like that. And we can talk more about that later, but they're there, to help guide that process through the move and the big move day that, we're working towards. And housing tenancy and sustainability services that's offered in Pennsylvania. It's fairly new. We're a couple of years into that. We have 43 people right now that are authorized, excuse me, for that service. And we'll also talk more about that. That's, again, just guiding through the whole process, ensuring the move goes well, and then even after the move to ensure stability and that the new housing situation can maintain. And then thereafter, we do a lot of high school transition planning. That's 18 to 21, working with school districts and people that are planning for those next steps post graduation. We can come in and look at that if they're ready to move out of the family home at that point. Or we may, tag in some of our employment supports, CPS, the community participation supports, most certainly would be in that age group. So we do some, pre and post graduation planning with the school districts around the area. And then supporting the family. And as I mentioned, remote supports and technology, huge. Just this past year, we've incorporated remote supports through some, one vendor in particular has been very successful working with us. Remote supports can add in support needs that, may only be, a couple of hours, an hour, daily living supports, medications, different things that you might not want to staff in. The person with disabilities, person supported, might not want staff there, but they can do it remotely. It also provides peace of mind, comfort for people. First time when you're on your own, it's scary. I mean, it's scary for anyone. You feel uncomfortable, especially if you're, living at times alone and in a new home. And I'm looking around because I've done that myself. Anybody needs, sometimes that peace of mind, whether it's a security alarm, ring doorbell, anything like that, just for that peace of mind to make you feel a little bit, more comfortable with, going to sleep at night, whatever it may be. Technology has been a great component to the home of my own part of things, as well as some of the other work that we're doing. So I can't promote that enough. It's really worked well in this particular space. You can go on the next slide, please. So I mentioned we do a lot of community assessments. We do the community living assessment. We have a housing assessment and housing plan, and also the person-centered planning that I mentioned. The community living assessment can be done in the family home. It can be done in the community. The assessment really is initially structured by someone's individual support plan. So you will find as we would go through the assessment that each area that we're observing or working on connects and relates back to their plan. So it's different things that they know and do, different things that, would fall under the medical, everything that's in that ISP is going to be reflected in a key area of what we're looking at for independent living. So we would go through each area and then determine, you know, what we may need to work on prior to the move, or what we want to be sure is in place, at that time. The end of that assessment has a score, and it's a scoring range where it would indicate a level of support. So it may be, a couple of hours are needed every week, or it may be 20, 30. Some people might be looking at, hey, I need like 24 or overnight supports. Can this work for me? And I want to say and put that out there now, because that's always a question. Just that, what if somebody needs, you know, maximum support or 24 hours? I would say, let's look at that. Let's sit down and talk and see what makes up that day. Because when we look at a home of my own, we're looking at a person's total life, total person-centered plan, their entire day. So some of that day might be, with family, or you might have a volunteer opportunity that you're going to. So we really want to make it person-centered and look at, what fills that 24 hours a day, and then build around there. And then what supports would be necessary at what times, and just, build in that way, and not rule out, hey, we need a community home, because we need maximum support. Let's talk about that, and, let's sit down and plan, because oftentimes there's ways that we can help that, the answer doesn't have to be in a licensed situation or a group home, community home. And then, we do the person-centered plans. We can come in and sit down and, work on that trajectory and your goals for the future. And we do it with a team approach. So, the person would be supported by people that they choose to sit down and have a planning session. Moms, dads, caregivers, family members, maybe a direct support staff that they already have that they're comfortable with. Could be someone from the home and community team. And we sit down and really talk about what's next. Here's where we want to go. What are the steps to get there? And we work with you side by side, to make that happen. And the housing assessment side of things, that comes when you decided you're going to move out. All right, where do you want to live? What type of housing? What funding, do you have that can contribute to make this happen? We go through the assessment, and then we put together a plan and put that plan into action, whether that be through signing up for Section 8 or some of the other opportunities, affordable housing. We might call a landlord that we know, and things like that. So that would be all part of that housing assessment and housing plan. Can go on to the next one. So Housing Tenancy, as I mentioned, is a new service through waiver. It's really was created to meet those needs that I've touched on. Just looking at how can we provide people the life that they want to live, the quality of life, opportunities that you don't have to wait, years and years for. Choice and decision making in where my life is going to go next. Not what do I have to take because that's all there is. And they looked at that and they wanted to create a service that would really help people and their families have that choice and in the next step for housing and transition. So if you notice, the title is Housing Transition, the formal title is Housing Transition and Tenancy Sustaining Services. So we don't want to just talk about, hey, we're going to move. We want to talk about how can we sustain, because getting there is one thing, but then sustaining, that new house or new, townhouse that you have, we want to make sure that sustains itself and it's successful. And how can we support you along the way, whether that be through, landlord communications and, as I said, signing up for different eligibility for assistance, it could be budgeting, it could be any of those things, just to make sure that you're successful. So that's why the key word in there also is sustain. We can build it, but we want to sustain it. And that's part of housing tenancy as well. There's certain services that if people are already enrolled in, which I've mentioned here, life sharing, the supported living, and the residential hab, you can't go the housing tenancy route with those. I don't know if that will ever change, but that's if you're in those services, no. But they also encourage people on the flip side of that if you, even in your community homes now, if you live in a community home, you can get authorized to, have assistance if you have a plan to move out of there. So if somebody already lives in a licensed community home and they want to start looking at, moving out and getting into their own place, they will definitely authorize that. They actually encourage it and embrace it, which is wonderful. To give people an option. If hey, I ended up in this type of situation, I really don't want to be here for the rest of my years. I want to live on my own. That's what this was about. This was about giving people choice, and the right to live where they want to live. That's the bottom line with housing. And then along the way, there's a lot of areas that we can, help with through this code. Not many providers offer it. Can be a bit challenging in terms of, finding housing in today's housing market. But we give it our best every day and help people, and have made a lot of connections, which I can also talk about with the housing authorities and some housing partners within the local areas. You can go on to the next one. So what is a housing specialist? The housing specialist primarily works with people enrolled in housing tenancy. The housing specialist has experience with, housing, like transportation, employment experience, healthcare, government benefits, all of the waivers. Work with, people and their families, their service coordinators, their other housemates, other providers even. We can help in all of those ways, and just, putting together that plan and that person-centered plan to make everything happen. Sometimes, in my experience, a lot of times, Achieva would not be the only one at that table, and we don't want to be the only one there. We want, our service coordinators there helping, with that side of things, and what makes sense in terms of someone's budget if they're contributing through waiver dollars. Other providers, sometimes people have more than one, and that's perfectly okay. You can have XYZ doing a certain service, and maybe Achieva is doing HAB, and maybe someone else is just volunteering, or family member might be involved, providing some support. We're all there at that table, and the housing specialist will work with everyone to ensure that we're touching on all of those areas during those critical times, and ongoing to sustain, to make sure that everything is going well. They are trained and take trainings regularly on different housing topics, not limited to just renting. We can look at home ownership, things of that nature. A lot of people ask that about, can I buy a house and have the person rent or live there? Absolutely. They can even own a home. Person with disabilities can own a home. It's the only challenges if they go to sell it, when we're looking at assets and things like that. But you most definitely can have a home in your name, and do home of my own support services. I'm going to let Mike and Linda in here and go ahead on to the next one, if you wouldn't mind. I think I'm going to stop for a second. I love questions, so I just wanted to take a quick pause, deep breath, just to, if anybody has anything, burning questions right now, we could ask about, or you could just save them for later, for the end. But I know that I've been talking a while, so. if you want to just chat it or raise your hand. If not, continue.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, I'm sorry. I actually tried to connect through the Google Meets link, and for some reason it didn't work. So I'm not seeing any of the, screen sharing, but I'm listening intently. But I did have one question. Actually, I had a couple, but are you okay with staffing, or do you have staffing issues? I said you said you had 124 individuals who are actually right now in the Homes from a Home of My Own program. So are you able to maintain that level of staffing to provide that support?
Just like everyone, just like most providers, we do have a lower staff pool than we typically had, pre-COVID. We're able to pretty much fulfill, everything. It really depends on the support needs. So, someone that needed only a couple hours, I can say, yes, we're at maximum support. Others, we're trying to work up to where they were pre-pandemic. We're not alone with a lot of the providers that, we're still continuing to recruit. We have seen an uptick in recruitment, and our staff pool is building, which is positive. But, definitely, I'm sure you're aware why you ask, like there has been a decrease in applications and things like that over the past year.
For staffing?
Yes, for staffing.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Direct support staff, yes.
Okay.
But we're able to, to still provide supports, and we do have the staff to do so.
Okay, and then my last question was, where does most of your housing for individuals fall? Are they mostly Section 8, or are they market rate, or where are you finding most of your individuals are finding homes?
Yeah, for the most part, they're doing, housing choice vouchers, Section 8, I would say. We do have market rate if it's studios and the smaller apartments. We don't have a lot of people, renting out, the luxury ones for sure. I would say the top ones are affordable housing or through housing projects that we're affiliated with that are based on income. We have a lot of income-based housing opportunities.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Thank you.
Sure. Thank you.
Now, how do I mute back? I'm sorry. I'm on the phone.
I might be able to do it for you. Yeah, I can do it if you would like.
Yeah, that'd be fine.
Right. Mm-hmm. Does anybody else have any additional? Like, if not, I can continue.
Michelle, I kind of have a question.
Sure. I love questions. So please, everybody, anyone that has them.
Absolutely. I'm trying. Can you, and I know that this is, a specific question for a broad answer, but can you kind of give an idea of, for housing tenancy or coming into a home of my own program, like what does that process kind of look like? Like and I know it, can go various different directions based on what somebody wants, but just a general, what does that look like?
Yeah, it does go in various directions, but broadly, let's just say we'll say someone, just to leave it broad, because we can get calls from someone's supports coordinator, from the person themselves, advocating for themselves, families. People will call in, inquire about it. That happens a lot. Hey, we want to look at housing services, and it would just start off as a conversation. They'll call in, we can schedule time with you, whether it's virtually, in person, sit down and just talk about, how can we help? What's on your mind? Tell me what you're looking for the future. And then from there, we would look at, perhaps doing a person-centered plan meeting, or, if absolutely this is what you want to do, we'll sit, my team and I with the person, and whoever they would like there, whether it's the service coordinator, sports coordinator, talk about that. And then, the steps that we'll take to get there, and just really sit and look at all resources that can help get us there.
That's
So
awesome.
it's really a matter of, a phone, it would be simple as a phone call,
Okay.
email to me, say, hey, can we, just get together and talk about future planning.
That's
And
awesome.
we could go from there. Very person centered.
Awesome. And then you had mentioned earlier about the sustainability component to that. And I think that is so important, not to just, you're right, it's not just about the move, it's what comes after that. Does the housing specialist stay involved in the process after a person moves to support that sustainability?
Yes, that is a
Okay.
great question. Yes, they do.
Awesome.
They might not be at the level they were initially, but they're
Right.
there. They can remain in the person's plan and the support plan for number of hours a month or however we set that up initially with the service coordinator and sports coordinator to do those check-ins, to be available for times that they may need to renew a lease, or hey,
Okay.
my landlord's giving me a hard time and I don't know what to do. All those type of things where the guy down the hall is like really annoying, beating on my door at night and I'm scared. Like that stuff all comes up.
Sure.
And then the housing specialist can be there to
Okay.
support. Mm-hmm.
Fantastic. Thank you.
Yeah, sure.
Michelle, I have a question relative to the financial compensation for the support staff.
Yes.
So does this come through like a consolidated waiver kind of program, or can you go with community living waivers or even other waivers? How does that work? And is there another third party that gets involved in terms of the financial stream to the support staff?
Yeah, I think I have that on an upcoming slide, but I'm not sure. But no, we can talk about it now. I always like to, some of my staff laugh at me because I end up drawing this line like this up and down. And that's how I think about it and how I ask people to think about it. One side's the housing and one side is your support services, your support staff. So the housing piece of it is not paid anything through waiver or Achieva or any provider. The housing, such as rent and things like that, will all be, independent for the person, whether it's through their wages, their social security, different things. That's what will pay for the actual physical housing location. Then on the other side of my hand, the supports. So all of the supports that come in can be paid through waiver, and they can be paid through the consolidated waiver, community living waiver, PFD waiver, CHC waiver, and even private pay. Some people use, trusts, different other pools of money, to pay privately, even for services if they're not eligible for all of the different types of waivers to make everything possible, if that makes sense.
Okay.
Yeah, it's even also remotes, technology that we could talk about in a couple slides from now. That also can be paid through all of those waivers, consolidated, community living. There's some companies, the one that I mentioned that I've been working with, you can pay for equipment and services through the waivers.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Anybody else?
I don't see anything in the chat.
All righty. We'll skip on to the next slide.
Sure.
Thank you. So here's all of our support areas. And these aren't even all of them, gang. I mean, we can do, like I said, many hats. We've helped people with just even personal things, going on in their lives that aren't on this list. And that could be, I really don't want to get into that, but somebody got a divorce. I mean, there's natural, real life happenings in addition to moving. I mean, it's real life. So there's reasons why sometimes people are seeking independence or, different things going on, like that we're there too to support all of those real life experiences. But housing has many, many aspects, and that can be, those assessments, doing that formula housing plan, searching, all of the searching that goes into, looking for that perfect home that's affordable, safe, in the right price range, who's paying for it, all those different questions when we're doing the search. We support a person and their family through that. Housing applications, they can be confusing. They can be, daunting. Like, where do I start? How do I navigate through that process? The housing specialist is there to support you through that, identifying those resources, LIHEAP, SNAP, any assistance benefits that you might be eligible for um, to maintain the home. Moving day help, that's a big one. You have all these plans and moving day comes and, uh-oh, I don't got a truck. I don't know how I'm going to do all this. Like, we help with that. We can look and tap into some resources to even help, pay for some of those expenses to help you move, and provide that support for that big day that we're all looking for, and we celebrate when someone gets their keys. Um, and just building those community resources and networks, navigating through, your new town, your new street. That's where our community participation supports can come into play. Hey, I just moved to Monroeville, and I want to try to volunteer. We can help with all of that. It's not just where do I want to live, it's the community, maybe where I want to work and where I do want to go to church or have friends or whatever it may be for that person. We can help establish, some of those community connections and build them so that you can become a true part of that new area that you're living in. And having a backup plan, what's going to happen. We see on TV sometimes apartments get evacuated or, different things happen. So where are you going to go? What's going to happen if you can't get back into your apartment? That's a big one. It's again, not just moving, the sustainability. Apartment's gone now, something happened, which we don't want anything bad to happen. But what if it does? We have to have that crisis plan for where are you going to stay for those couple of days if there's a water main break and your apartment's flooded or, things along those lines. So we're there for that support. Financial education. In the past, we've hosted classes, which I'd like to start up again. It was called Money Club, just looking at education around that, around finances, how much money you spend each month, how much money, you need for your bills and your necessities. How many Starbucks coffees am I really buying? And do I need to buy all of those? Things like that. They cover that in the curriculum. And it's very eye-opening. It's eye-opening for all of us. I participated myself, and it's a really, good class that we could offer that will show people what they're spending their money on every month, and just as a tool for, assisting with that living and living independently. Communicating with landlords, my landlord won't help me fix something, or things like that. We don't just do it for a person. We work with them to really build and grow their independence in that area, that landlord communication, other tenants, as I said, or even if they choose to have a housemate or live with someone in their apartment. A lot of people are looking for that option. Some aren't. A lot of people do want to find a potential housemate just to share expenses. It is a big step. Maybe the first step might be more comfortable to, live with a housemate, someone to share all the bills, things like that. But with that comes getting along with your housemate and certain things that come up, during that time. I always go back to my college days and think about living with 5 people and, all of the challenges there. It happens. So we want to be there to say, hey, let's talk about, what it might be like if you don't agree on things, and, problem solve, and how can we split some responsibilities. And it really works nice for a lot of people. Some people don't want to clean, but some people are great cooks. So they live together and one cooks and one cleans. And, just those natural little aspects of life that we forget about sometimes really make a difference when people move in together. So we help build all that, and just working collaboratively. I always talk to my team about, this isn't a solo project here, and we all believe that, and recognize that we all need to be there, all at the table. That's what makes it work. It's that teamwork, the collaboration, getting to know people, and their families. One of my favorite stories, it's a sad story, but it's still, it really hits home because I worked with a mom um, years and years ago, before a home of my own came about, and nothing was ever good enough. We were looking for her son for a place to live. She was like, "No, that won't work. That won't work for Bob. That won't work." And we worked through a lot and toured a lot of the different places, and nothing was right. So then a home of my own came along, and I called her up, and I said, "Hey, Bonnie, I got the perfect thing for you. This is going to be great." And I told her about it. And, we went off and started looking at apartments and things like that. And we matched her son up with a person to live with. And it turned out to be great. And then, fast forward, like I said, probably almost 10 years now, his mom ended up passing away. And then just recently, a couple of months ago, his father. And it's very sad, of course, but it's also very comforting, as I know it would be for them, that we were able to help her and help her son, and that we're still here and he's still in his apartment, and we're doing, the best that we can do for him. I promised that, we would always support him, and I'm keeping my promise, and we all will. But just to, travel that journey with them, and then know that, we fulfilled what she wanted most in the world, was just for him to be okay and independent and living the best life that he wanted to live. And I'm really proud of that we were able to do that, and meet those needs for that family. And I pledged every day that we're always here for Bob. So, and she wouldn't mind me sharing that story with everybody, but it really hits home for me. It is really the essence and the core of what we do. It's just really working with families and making sure that for the future that they're okay. Next slide, please. Oh, my favorite. This is what I was talking about earlier, remote supports. Love them. Okay, so we've been doing a lot with remote supports. I only listed some of the services or remote technology here. That black thing's supposed to be a big iPad that I put on there, just a piece of technology. So all of these things and more can be provided through remote support technology. And that's, the FaceTime with a live person, remote support on an iPad, where, you want to do a recipe, or you're not feeling so great and you want to talk to someone, but maybe staffing, to the point earlier, it's not enough. Maybe you have most of your hours covered, but in the evening, maybe you feel like after dinner, you just want to talk to somebody. There you go. We got, maybe an iPad in the home. You can get on, jump on, someone would be there available for you just to answer those questions. They offer little things that look like on your key ring, almost like a life alert. It's something of that nature. You can carry it with you. So if you're out and about and you have a medical emergency, or you feel unsafe, you can hit that, and that will go directly to the company to alert them that you need some help. So that's something that someone can carry right along with them. And then, your standards that, some of us might have in our homes with the Ring doorbells and the door sensors, cameras outside of the door. There's fire safety equipment, bed shakers, medication dispensers, things for the kitchen. So in case I forget to turn my stove off, it'll do that for me. It'll alert me, or, make a noise like, you better get and attend to your stove. There's many, I think over 140 or something, I think they have told me, through the different companies, pieces that are currently there, and then apps and things of that nature that they're working on. Again, what I love about it is that it's so person-centered, that it's not just, hey, I moved into a place with a camera. It's like, let's sit down and talk about what will make you feel safe. What do you think you're going to need, in the kitchen or, at night? What times of the day do you feel like, I just wish I could reach out, or I'd feel better if I could reach out and talk to someone? Maybe at 6 a.m. when it's, difficult to recruit maybe a staff for an hour just to make sure that you're, up and starting your day. We've had people do that where they just want to connect with someone early morning before, their next phase of their day starts, to talk about their day, what they're going to do, that they've maybe taken their medicine, things like that. And that can all be done remotely without having a person in the house. It's been really great. We have it in place with a few folks now, or there's a lot in the pipeline that are interested in it. Several that can benefit people that I know personally. And it can be paid through the waiver, as I talked about earlier. The tech's covered, the ongoing tech support. So if something breaks down, companies will send someone over to do that for you to make sure it's still working. If there's any issues with it, you don't have to worry about any of that. And then the remote time, the face-to-face time with the staff, it can be covered through the waivers that I mentioned. That would, just be working with us, or maybe the supports coordinator would reach out to the company, and then we'll get that in place. And they would be part of the team, just like Achieva or any provider agency. They would be there at the support plan meetings, at the table discussing their support time. So it might be, XYZ, Achieva, and then another company that from this such and such a time, we're providing the remote piece of a person's day. So it was a nice tie-in to, our department, our program in particular. It just made sense and it fits. So we've been growing, in that regard, as well as we build someone's independent living situation. Is there any questions?
I
Yes.
have a question. With the in-home remote technology support, just technology support in general, how is it determined what supports a person needs in that? Or is there another assessment done? Is it just through everyone talking and, supporting the person and talking about what they need, or what does that look like?
Yes, it's very similar to, I wouldn't say it's a formal person-centered plan, but let's say it's a person-centered plan meeting minus the life course framework and some of the other, particulars of that framework. What I like about it is they're sitting down, they're doing a planning meeting, much like our other meetings, not formalized to whether they're in person, it might be remote, could be in person, but they go through an entire plan and sort of package it up almost as if it was an assessment or if it was a person-centered plan. And it lists out in each of those areas, just using John as an example. John needs to feel safe at night and would like to have doorbell camera and cameras and window sensors, glass break sensors. Let's just say it says that. It would list all of those out like through those planning meetings, and it packages up into a nice proposal. And then that proposal would be shared with the family, the person, all the other team members, me, to see like when they're there, and so that we're not providing supports at the same time. So it's almost like a person-centered plan minus life course.
Gotcha.
And they list everything out for you, and all personalized. And then they break everything down in terms of what waiver will pay for. And it'll say, this is how much it would be, how many hours of support. And then that's where the supports coordinator would be able to then take the proposal and incorporate that into the plan, and they'll know where to fit that into a person's budget.
I like it. Awesome. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Sure. Is there any other questions about that?
Well, I had a question, not necessarily about that, but maybe it covers like the whole program itself. So maybe I didn't may be ignorant about this, but does this program, is it contingent upon you living in Allegheny County? If someone wanted to move like to Westmoreland County or Zelienople or something?
Yes, this is not just for Allegheny County. We can go to any county. Yes.
Okay, and that waiver, our son actually has a PSD waiver. It's probably not a lot, but, and so the waiver services would be extended beyond Allegheny County.
Yes.
But, and he's with Family Link, so those services would still remain as well.
Yes, we have people that live, it's kind of like maybe they might have a supports coordinator and waiver in Westmoreland, but they actually move across the line to Allegheny.
Okay, so you don't have to be in Allegheny County to have this program work for you.
No, we have people in Westmoreland County as well.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
I may have to call and talk with you directly because our son actually did do an assessment a long time ago in a home of my own was new with Tom Bash, and but I know he's not here anymore. Yeah, and then we sort of things changed, but we're kind of back on the horse now. So I may need to talk with you directly at some point.
Yes, anytime. Just give me a call and I'd be happy to talk to you. Absolutely.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Michelle, I know your contact information is at the end of your slideshow.
Yes.
Would it be okay with you if I emailed your slide deck to everyone on the call tonight that shared their email address?
Yes. Yes.
Perfect. If for no other reason, I mean, one, it's a lot of great information to refer back to, but also then they're able to have your contact information for when they need it to. So thank you.
Sure.
Michelle, I don't have a question. I have a comment.
Absolutely. Erin.
Just as someone who has worked for Michelle and still works for Michelle, but also as an advocate, I have done this process numerous times from the beginning to the end. And this is my very favorite section, the remote support. I was just working with someone tonight who uses this on a daily basis. And the amount of benefit that this gentleman gets from this is amazing. The amount of confidence and independence that allows him. And not only that, but the support staff from Safe and Home are amazing. They helped him write part of his disability pride speech. They helped him choose clothing. He will move his tablet around his room and they'll tell him how to better organize something. They told him how to change a battery in his glucometer. They're just spot on. If they say they're calling you at 8 o'clock and they're calling at 8:02, they're apologizing that they weren't calling you at 8 o'clock. It's just such a great thing. And the door sensors are amazing. The fire safety equipment, I also support another lady who has, if her stove has a fire and it reaches a certain height, the white powder drops down and extinguishes the flame. And not only that, but it then notifies Safe and Home, and they're calling and checking on her. So it's just such an amazing service. And then medication dispenser products that they have, and just
thank you. Yes.
That was my shout out to this section.
Thank you, Erin, for sharing. I feel the same way. That's why I was like, oh, my favorite spot. And that's why I kind of feel like, when I was talking earlier about how things evolve, I mean, it's so exciting for me that this is a possibility for people, and the confidence, that it builds, and, just hearing your stories there, and that it's such a great piece tied into, having people feel that independence and independent living, and just, it's just, I love it. I love it a lot. So thank you for sharing that. Does anybody else want to talk about anything along the remotes? Mine.
I have a question. So this
Hi.
week, hi, I'm Linda Hackett. My daughter
Linda.
is here with me, and hi, Melissa. I'm just wondering, so this remote support technology that we're talking about right now, is this available to folks outside of the home of my own? And can you speak a little bit to how that might support folks that are not necessarily in that program, still in our home with us? But I'm just wondering how that.
Sure. Yeah, yeah. Do you have waiver currently?
Yes.
Yes. Okay, sure. You can absolutely do that without, moving out or at that point yet. You can do it in your home. And it's just a matter of, hooking up with ask your supports coordinator to give them the call. I could link you, to them, to a representative from a company, that works in your area. And you could start this now. In fact, I don't know if Erin wants to, hop back on a minute, but we actually had someone start at home. Like the equipment was delivered to their family home ahead of time. They started using it in home to just, learn about the equipment, gain that confidence, have some time that was more independent away from their family, and just build that relationship and the rapport with that, DSP on the other end. And then the goal would be to have that continue, for the future, hopefully, if, when the move time might come, that they're still, working for the company, obviously, but there's absolutely no reason you couldn't start, in your house, with access to some of these services remotely that could be covered with your waiver. And
Yeah,
Erin,
it certainly makes sense, because then you have eyes on, you are seeing your person utilizing it, seeing any glitches that might happen in real time. And then, that sounds.
Yep. And you'll see the glitches, like, you learn how to use it, get a sense of, okay, if something does break, what's going to happen? Let's see how they handled that. Are they going to come into your house? Are they going to fix it? Or is that just, oh yeah, we'll be there, and they don't come for 2 weeks? That gives you that peace of mind that yes, they show up when something's, not functioning. And Erin, do you want to talk a little bit about that for us?
I do, because you just used a great example. This lady had it in her home for 2 months leading up to her moving out. And her main concern was, what is going to happen if like an emergency happens in my apartment at 12 o'clock? Well, it just happened while she was living at home with her sister. They had a water leak and she was there by herself and she didn't know what to do. And she called Safe and Home and they talked her through it, calling her sister, helping her. And so that was something we worked through with her. What would you do when you're in your own apartment and you have a water leak, or your fire alarm goes off and you can't get it to turn off, or it's beeping and you have to change the battery? What if the lights go out? So all of those things were things that she was able to work through at home with her sister and her brother-in-law there to assist her. And then her sister and brother-in-law also said this was an unknown to them. Like they didn't know how invasive this was going to be for her sister and how helpful it was going to be. So it was nice for them to see it. Like the staff from Safe and Home talked her through how to use the microwave. And, she would show her meal that she was going to heat up so they could help her read the back of it and see how long you're supposed to put it in the microwave. I mean, it's a spot on service. It's as detailed as you can think it can be within the parameters of what is provided.
Mm-hmm.
Like when she rides Go Westmoreland to go to her job, she carries her pendant with her. And if she's nervous on that car ride, she can access that pendant and talk to someone to calm her down on the ride from her apartment to her job.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so it really is spot on with those times for someone that does get uncomfortable, or, oh, I don't know about this guy that's walking over here. I felt like that. I would, and that happens. You get uncomfortable when you're out and about. You can call them, hey, just to, talk you through some situations that may come up.
Yeah.
I love it.
I think it's exciting too. Like I kind of grew up through the technology age, you know what I mean? I still remember a time when we didn't have internet and cell phones and all of those things. But my son being 11, he doesn't know that time, you know, so he's kind of grown up with the technology. And I think for him, you know, these in-home technology supports are going to be such a seamless transition for him. You know what I mean? Because he's already used to it. So
Yep.
I think for younger people, as you know, since they're already so used to the technology era, you know, having these supports are, I mean, we have a Ring doorbell, you know what I mean? I've had automatic lights. We have an ALEXA. I can't say her name because she's sitting next to me, and
Yes, please don't.
she'll do things that she's not supposed to, you know, but I think that it's going to be really exciting. Like I'm excited for 10 years from now to see what else is out there
Yeah.
and you know, how it can support him. And you know, I've even had people say to me, you know, I want to live independently, but like I need someone to help me just sometimes, but I don't know when those sometimes are. Like they're unpredictable sometimes. So I feel like this technology support at your fingertips can be there when you need it to be, but not invade your life when you don't want it to be. So I think it's kind of a good balance.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree wholeheartedly.
And if you
Because
could just add one more thing, Michelle,
sure.
and if it's on your next slide, I apologize. But the simplicity of the iPad and the pendant is perfect. It is hit a button and that's it for both. You know, there's nothing more you need to access Safe and Home through your iPad, you're hitting a button. If you need to call someone on your pendant, you're hitting a button.
Mm-hmm.
It's perfect. Like
Wonderful. Yeah.
yeah.
And is that Linda? If you can always email me too after the the presentation tonight, and I can help you, give you some contact information for Safe and Home if you would like.
Thank you. I
Sure.
think, Michelle, you and I might have met in Warren, Pennsylvania a few years ago.
We did. Warren, out in Warren. Yes, we did, didn't we? At
Yes,
the
we did.
library. At the
Yeah,
library.
it was a contentious meeting, but yes, we did meet there. So
That
yeah,
meeting
nice
was a
to
little,
see you again.
yeah, it's nice to see you as well. Yes, that meeting was a little different out there. But
It was for sure. I guess I have another. If I don't know, I don't want to throw you off course here, but my question is, and I am. Achieva has, and Melissa and I know each other, and they have done amazing things for my daughter Amanda, and can't thank them enough. But Amanda's still in her home. She's 42, and I'm wondering from the standpoint of, have you seen any we moved to Pittsburgh 2 years ago, so I'm looking at even right now for her. Have you seen families do any creative things within their own home with potentially a roommate, and could our waiver services, so if we had a situation where Amanda was here and I know I read this in the Erie Arc that some family in Erie was doing something similar to this. We have a separate area in our house that is kind of its own apartment.
Mhm.
I'm just wondering, have you seen anyone do anything creative like that? And can waiver help? And in that situation, how did waiver between two people help to serve bringing staff in to, if you've seen something like that?
I have a couple of the things that are coming to my mind with what we have right now. Well, we have one creative thing going on right now where it's similar to what you're talking about. It's actually falls under community supported living, which is a different part of us, but it was a family home that has sort of a separate home apartment connected. So they're looking at creatively, providing those supports and building them in for their son in one part of the house as sort of like his own apartment, but then they're, still going to remain in the house for a while on the other half of the house. And then, looking at what supports and services through waiver can come in, what can they provide just as in-kind, natural family support, and then looking at potentially that housemate coming in and then them moving out, maybe to something smaller, more manageable, as they get older. But they're starting now to blend those services in while he's still there in that sort of apartment area of the house. So that's one situation. Then we have another house that two people rent from. One of the person that lives there's mother owns the home. We match them up. They live in the home. They share services through companion services. So it's a little more cost effective in terms of their waiver dollars, to where when they're both there in the house, they're doing a group companion time versus, single billing time, which saves money like in their waiver dollars because it's a less expensive service. And then that provides, staff in the home for both of the guys that live there, during the day. And then that's all built around their schedules. They're, volunteer. They're one person works. So you don't really need someone in there every hour of the day. So we just look at like the times that they need the staff's there, and they're there for both of them because it's a group. And that's how that worked.
Thank you.
Are you still there?
Yeah, what do you find as the in terms of obstacles to these things, would you say your biggest obstacle is finding that staff? Is that still high on the list of obstacles for what you see? I'm talking the staff that comes into the home. Is that?
Yes. I would say it. Yes and no, because I think, when we're really looking to plan and build and be creative, ideally, and we're starting to really work on this more now, is working with the person on a job description for someone that they want. What does that look like? What kind of person do you want coming into your home to help you? What do you need help with? We're really customizing even the job description to recruit in a person-centered way, so that when we're interviewing for people, we want to include, let's say I'm recruiting for staff for you. We would have you there. Whether it's Google or you can come in, we want you to be able to ask those questions. We want you to be able to develop and write, a couple of things that you're looking for. That sounds like a really big undertaking, but to me, it's actually easier to recruit a staff person that way, because we're very successful doing a good match, a good solid match up front. And then that person's going to stay and they're going to, maintain that relationship, hopefully, and they're going to be there for you. It's not going to be like a revolving door of people if you're looking at it from more of a person-centered approach. And so yes and no. Yes, we do have, challenges looking for staff. But I think when it's done in those person-centered ways, it's not a challenge. We can maintain that relationship.
One more question from me, and then the Safe at Home, is it called Safe at Home? Is that what is that where we're?
The one that I'm most familiar, it's
this one with the remote support technology, right?
Yes, it's Safe in Home, with an I, in home.
Okay, and is that county dependent? Like I'm thinking Warren County, where I came from. Would they have had access to something like this or not?
Yes. It's a nationwide, that company in particular is nationwide. They do have sales representatives, I believe they're called, everywhere. Now, I don't know off the top, without looking or asking if they had one particular in Warren, but I'm sure they have one close. I know Erie County, definitely, because I talked with some of our Achieva affiliates up there. That's who initially even linked me up. Was up from Erie. So I know nearby that they do have the sales representatives, in that general area, and they're pretty much in every state, in every region.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm. Does anyone else have any questions? Nope. I guess we better move along, go on to the next. But I expected a lot of questions about this because it really is exciting. I mean, Aaron pretty much said it all. it's it really is a nice add-in to a person's support time. Yeah. Melissa, do you want to go on the next one? And this was the earlier question. How are services paid for? All the waiver types can be, utilized for the staff support and the remote support. All of the different types of waiver funding. Some people do private pay. We have, a group of them, small. It's usually not the highest utilized way of doing things, but you can private pay. People can, use their own dollars that are available. And then time, my former supervisor, Nancy, always made sure I keep that in mind. And I always bring that up, that time is money. Time matters. So in terms of just like, hey, how can we make this work with your family members providing time? That's part of their time. And it's not anything that you have to worry about waiver for, or, dollars, or how are we going to pay for this. Some people like to go home on the weekends. They like to, spend holidays with families, of course, and different things. So you're not going to need, to worry about planning for those hours. So that's what we mean by like an in-kind contribution or time. That's all factored in on how all this is going to work. So just keep that in mind. And, I included the bullet there about what I spoke about earlier. People will ask, how is the house paid for? Can waiver pay for that, or does Achieva have a house? Most situations, no, we don't provide the home or the housing piece. So the actual physical site location of where someone's going to live would be coming out of the person's private funds. And so you can go on to the next slide. And then we're getting down to the end, but this I wanted to mention this because this has really been a great part of what we do, just developing those relationships with our community partners. We a lot of times folks such as Action Housing, most recently CHN Housing Partners, different developers and landlords and realty companies will come to us at Achieva and want to partner. And by partner, I mean they'll be looking at developing a new building. Our most recent project was down in Lawrenceville, and it was a project that they built through grants and things to rehab a building. And what they'll do is, in order to receive those grants, they will look at, okay, how many units do we have available total? And then how many units are we going to reserve for, people with disabilities? And then how can we make that happen? Who's going to, if you build it, they will come. Who's going to refer us those people? That will be us. And they partner with us, which we are grateful for, to say, okay, when you get these 10 units, we get first priority at them. And then we will, refer everyone that we know that needs a place to live, especially in these days, if they're interested in that particular area, to that building. And so we get priority, they can get fast tracks to be able to get their application approved in that particular building. So that's been really great. Our partnerships with Action Housing, the other groups that I have listed here on the slide, we've had interactions and discussions with all of those groups. And then just we have a database or just different relationships that we've built with landlords and private landlords, people looking to rent out properties. So I often, hear that or people will ask, what about the housing market? Like, what about affordability? Where are these apartments? this is where all that comes in. So it's, we're out there hitting the ground, building these relationships with that in mind, that, we need to have these physical site locations that are affordable, that are safe, and income based for people with disabilities. So just wanted to include that in the discussion tonight, that we do have opportunities and priority with a lot of people in the community. And you want to go on to the next one? Oh, that's the end. That's my contact information. I saved the last a couple of minutes just to, wrap up, sort of think about everything. And if there's any questions before we, finish up at 8, this gives us a few minutes if anybody wants to ask anything in particular related to anything we've discussed.
Michelle, this is Dawn. I'm a supervisor with the SDO Westmoreland County with WIXI.
Hi, Dawn.
I have a technical question. So if a family wants to add a home of my own supports kind of thing, is that the housing transition and tenancy service detail from the SDC?
It would be if the first part is just to get started, and
Okay.
if they're looking for housing in particular, if that would be the goal, I would say yes, start with housing, and then we could add in anything else that through the person-centered planning that might be necessary, like the HAB supports or CPS or anything that they're interested in, just to get that rolling. But I would think initially you would start with the HTTS.
Okay.
And get hooked up, meet a housing specialist, myself and the housing specialist, just to have a meeting, just brainstorm, and we could go from there.
Okay. We've also had some families who kind of have in their planning that they, like, the consumer lives at home with them, and they want to, when they pass away, they want their child to stay in their home, and then a provider come in to kind of work with that consumer. Would something like that be something that could be a home of my own could work with as well, as opposed to a provider, the house being donated to a provider taking over the house and making it into residential?
Yes, that can be done. I always put out there right away when someone asks, can we leave our house to our son or daughter? Yes, but then the planning part of that is, Achieva doesn't have to own it or anything like that, and we can just have supports come in. But you want to make sure who's going to maintain it then. They would have to have things set up for the future, like if the house needs a new roof, or, who's cutting the grass. All those different particulars about the home is where the challenge comes in. So if they're able, you could set up, some trust services and different things like that can cover those expenses, like, way down the road when, if they're not around anymore to help. You can set up a trust, and then the trust can kick in when you have those major repairs and things like that on the home. So yes, they definitely could, move in or stay there and remain in the home, but as long as there's a game plan for home maintenance.
Okay. Thanks.
Sure.
And getting that home and you're leaving it to your son or daughter would not disqualify them for their waivers and what they qualified for?
It would not. The only time it could disqualify them is if it's sold. So it doesn't become an asset against them, against your son or daughter, unless they would sell it, and then they're receiving a cash asset from it. But if their name is just on the home and there's no sale, there's no assets coming in from it, then it does not affect their waiver.
And if they get older and let's say they have to go into like a nursing home, then that home is looked at the I guess the value of it as an asset.
Yeah, then I believe that would apply, just as it would for any of us. So if you're going into a place that's going to cost you $100,000, then that monthly amount. And, they would look at the assets and probably, put that towards that care. I don't want to give out wrong information on that, but we do have people up in the trust that are the experts that you could talk to if you have any, particular future planning in terms of, what happens then for those types of reasons.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm. Does anyone else have any questions? And I will add that in. We have a lot of different things available at Achieva to help people, different funds. We have a residual fund that anyone can apply to that we've tapped into and applied for things like furniture, a lot of startup things like when someone moves, we have a residual fund account that can be awarded to help with that. We also have the Cecil and David Rosenthal Fund to make things possible for people, technology, iPads, things like that. And the Family Trust, the Achieva Family Trust, is a huge resource and knowledge bank for us for any kind of future planning, trust, wills, estates, questions about homes and things like that. We can also, collaborate with them right in-house to answer any of those particular questions or to help you apply to get some of the grants that are available for moving expenses.
I'd just like to add one more thing, if it's okay. I mean, we have benefited from the life course planning from Achieva and the folks there. And for anyone on this call who doesn't know what it is, I mean, I didn't know what it was when we first started, but it has changed. It has been life-changing for both our daughter and our family. So I can only say that I can just highly recommend anyone who is just, I mean, we were kind of floundering when we got to Pittsburgh, and this amazing group of folks just helped to direct us. And we are in such a good place, and I'm forever grateful for that. So I just wanted to
I'm sorry, what was the name of it again?
The life course. Life course.
Life course?
Mm-hmm.
Life course planning, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, Melissa.
Yeah.
You just
Sure.
want to give the
Cliff notes.
A quick cliff note on life course.
Yeah. I think the easiest way for me to describe charting the life course is it's really just a framework that kind of helps people identify what their vision of a good life is. And I was actually going to share this, so thanks, Linda, for the segue. I appreciate it. We did not pay Linda to get on this call and do that. But I feel like there are so many times I talk to people and they just know they don't want to live where they are. That's all they know. They don't know if they want to live in a rural community or in the city or a townhouse or an apartment, or they don't know. And that is okay. That is absolutely okay. Just knowing that you want something different than what you currently have is enough. We can work through it. We can bring in who we need to bring in. Michelle has come into planning meetings for so many people that I support. Erin is involved, the advocacy team. Marty is on here. She's also another ambassador. Hi, Amanda. How are you? I just think that you don't have to figure it out on your own. You don't. If you just know that you want something different that, a different job, a different place to live, whatever it is that you're looking for, we can help you figure it out. So that's kind of my abbreviated Cliff Note version of charting the life course. And I could probably talk for hours and pull out different tools and pieces of paper and fancy documents. But ultimately, we want everybody to live what their vision of their good life is. And, we're willing to help you navigate through that to figure it out. Marty, I see you have your hand up.
I do. And one of the, taking it back to the most simplistic motion is looking at yourself and how many changes that you went through in navigating your life and navigating what is your perfect life. Most people don't live where they lived in the beginning, and they've changed their location a number of times through growth, through experiences, and just through life. Life changes, you have different opportunities. And that's the beauty of the life course framework, that it is fluid. It changes as you grow, it changes and moves you in the direction that'll support you best.
Thank you, Marty.
Thank you, Marty. Thank you for sharing.
Mhm.
And if I could just piggyback off of what Marty was saying and go back to the example of the lady we were talking about earlier. You know, she's had 3 person-centered plans. That's how fluid her life was. When she reached out to her SC from Wixie and me and said, I would like to move out on my own, that's when we started planning. It took about a year to get to where she is now, but she just had an amazing team. Everyone who was part of her person-centered plan was on board, was on this person's page, and we supported her. I almost wish her SC was on here tonight, because she was just like Dawn Brown, the best team player. She was just awesome, and this young lady is just in a great position in her life and just had a great team. So it works.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing. Yeah, so I mean, I'm sure, like, Melissa, you shared your contact information, right? Okay, good. Yeah, so I mean, anybody that's interested in, a session, person-centered planning meeting, please reach out. And we'd all of our ambassadors, everyone that spoke, would be happy to help get that started for you.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And, there is no wrong door at Achieva. So if you reach out to Michelle and you need to get somewhere else, she'll get you there. Or if you reach out to me and I'm not the one, I will find the one. So we will make sure that we're connecting people with who they need to be connected to. So don't feel like you have to knock on the right door to get the right answer.
For sure.
We'll get you there. We'll get you there. So, if there are no other questions, again, I want to be respectful of everyone's time. We thank you for coming. I will email the slide deck out before the end of the week. If you want the slide deck and you didn't share your email, please drop it in the chat. You're welcome, Astrid. Thanks for coming. And I will also share information. We'll be having a presentation in February on trauma-informed bullying prevention. So I will share out information on that as well. But that's all I have. So Michelle, any closing thoughts?
No, I think you summed it up. I thank everyone for attending and being here, and all of our staff that's here for your support and chiming in. And if there's anything that you need, please reach out. If you have a question or just want to throw a couple of things my way, just give me a call and we'll talk and see how we can help. So really appreciate the time tonight, and I'm grateful to be here.
Awesome. Thank you again, everyone, for coming, and thank you, Michelle, for presenting.
Sure.
Thanks, everyone. Another great session.
Thank you. Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Bye.
Bye.